Good day, Jerome.
Hello, Bjorn.
Now, September means a fresh start after the summer, and it's a good occasion to reflect on the main events of the past 2 months. Now, one of the things we need to talk about, obviously, are the trade tariffs, the conflict that Donald Trump has provoked with a lot of countries. Now, a deal has been reached with the EU, yet the devil could be in the detail. Where are we at this point in time, according to you?
I think one of the things we are starting to realize is that Donald Trump has been able to engineer for his country a sustainable revenue stream, fiscal revenue stream that can be used elsewhere. When we look at all the developments, our point of view, which hasn't changed actually since the start of this tariff war in April, is that he will approximately impose 15% on a sustainable way, 15% of all imports into the United States.
Meanwhile, during summer, the US Congress has passed the budget, the one big beautiful bill, which entails, amongst others, a reduction in income tax. Yet we know the US already suffers from a huge deficit in its budget. How will they, in the coming years, succeed in countering that?
If you take a step back and look at these two policy changes, so let's say what's called the tariff war, the rise in import tariffs, and the lowering of tax on revenues in the United States, it accounts to what certain would call a tax shift. You lower the tax of revenues, so you make it easier for people to get a job, easier for companies to hire them, but at the same time you need to finance it by a rise in the tax on consumption. And when you look at both things together, the tax shift seems to be approximately successful. So a big part of the lower income from the revenue, the taxes on revenues that have come down, a big part of that lower income for the government is compensated by what's happening on the tariff side. Even the CBO, which is the organism in the United States, which looks at forecasts for the Congress, acknowledges that these tariffs will bring approximately $300 billion per year. There's a graph on your screen that shows the rising income from tariffs. $300 billion a year is 4 times more than what they were generating previously. And over 10 years, it makes a difference and it helps to reduce the deficit.
Another conflict that has remained is the one between the President and the Federal Reserve. He's announced that he wants to fire Lisa Cook from the board of directors. She, in turn, is suing the President now and refuses to resignate. What are the consequences of this conflict that seems to be getting worse and worse?
Well, the signs are there. The administration is trying, slowly but surely, to get control of the board of governors. It's not the only thing that has happened. We know that Donald Trump has replaced one of the other Fed governors who was leaving by one of his close advisors. There are already 2 Trump nominees on the board, and if Lisa Cook really goes away, then we will have 4 out of 7 members of the board that will be basically Trump appointees. And the idea is that the US administration, puts more pressure on the Fed to reduce interest rates and therefore lower financing costs. Of course, financing costs for the government, but as well for US companies. It's a big development.
If we look forward to the coming weeks, Jerome, what are the main events that you will be looking into more particularly?
I think the first thing we'll watch is the developments on the US labor market. We know the Fed will cut rates next year. Starting in September, but also next year, because inflation seems to be kind of under control. That's what Jerome Powell indicated. He does it because he sees that the labor market is getting weaker. We don't want a total weakness of the labor market. So that's the first thing we will watch. The second thing is how these 2 meetings of the central banks will develop. There's one on the 11th of September by the ECB and one on the 17th of September by the Fed. So we'll watch that. And then also the developments in US courts. So the Lisa Cook affair will be challenged in court by Lisa Cook herself, but also some of the tariffs. The president uses some of his executive powers to impose tariffs. That's being fought in court as well. And so these developments will be closely watched.
Taking into account all of these developments, how does this reflect in your investment strategy and your portfolio?
The first thing we've done at the start of the summer is to raise our allocation to US equities. So some of that communication has already been made, but I just remind you of that. We see earnings growth in the United States. We see as well these Fed cuts coming, a bit less political, let's say, uncertainty. So that has helped US equities. So that's the first thing we did. The second thing we did is very recently, so last week, we reduced Europe in favor of emerging markets. We continue to like Europe. You know, there's a big valuation gap between Europe and the United States, and it's slowly but surely being reduced. But at this stage, we think there's more potential for emerging markets because of the dollar weakness that should result from this cut in interest rates in the US.
Jerome, thank you very much for this update and for sharing your insights. Let's talk soon.
Thank you.